Welcome back, Caitlin. It's been a while.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're off our holiday break and back with a little bit more structure, I
Well, I
think.
mean, like,
Maybe.
are we?
I mean, I
I,
feel I'm not ready to be back. Like we take that
yeah,
week off and it just feels rude to come back and work
mm-hmm,
like full days. But
yeah.
but here we
I,
are.
I said on, well, whatever day it was, I was like, this seems like it's hard to do on a Monday. And then I think it was Jesse and Jessica kind of at the same time. We're like, it's Tuesday. And I was like, well, I want to do it less now. So
It was a
just,
very Monday Tuesday though. Like
yeah.
very Monday Tuesday.
Yeah.
Um
But then also, I woke up, or like I was going to bed last night, like, okay, here's what I'm going to wear, and like getting prepared for the day. And then I was like, tomorrow's already Thursday. I have so much to get done before the end of the week.
I
So
know.
there's just like, there's no winning for me. It's either
Understandable.
too much time or too little. And I am just going to complain until we go back to a regular 5-day work week next
Well,
week.
next week, yeah. All right, well, back we have our marketing question for this episode, which
Oh, we
is
do?
we do. I'm actually looking at the notes. I reviewed them earlier as well.
Same. Yes.
So the question we're answering today, because cocktails, tangents, and answers, and in order to have an answer, you got to have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
What are the essential elements and features that contribute to making a website outstanding, effective, and user friendly? So. Basically, what makes a
What
stellar
indeed?
website? Because nobody
I
wants a
like
mediocre website, right? There's so many of them out there, or just bad. There's
Mm-hmm.
tons of bad websites too. So how do you
Yes.
make that great? So we'll get to that. Our special guest is Jesse, who we've heard from before, our chief creative officer.
Mm-hmm.
Because in our company, websites are in the creative department. They are not a technical thing. I mean, there is plenty of technical to them,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really a design and user experience that falls to our creative team. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll get into
We're going to
that.
get into that. Before we do, though, I think we should talk about this bicicletta.
I love
I
this
guess
one.
I'm pronouncing it with the Spanish pronunciation. So
I think it's
I don't speak
bicicletta.
Italian.
I think you do a
Oh,
ch
okay.
on the single C. Now I don't know. It might be bicicletta, but I think it's bicicletta.
None of us speak Italian.
No,
Is
and
what I'm
Brian's
hearing.
not here. He does speak Italian, but he is not here.
Brian, will you
Um,
please call in and tell us how to pronounce this cocktail?
he works in a secure environment, so he's not.
Obviously not right this second, but he could leave us a message, right?
He could, yeah. He could
Yeah.
do that. I can ask him
Anyway,
later, too.
uh,
So, yeah.
according to a popular Italian legend, the bicycle in Italian, bicicletta, I don't know, was named after the elderly men who swerved all over the road while riding home after a few little cocktails at the cafe. Which is the only way that it is safe to drink and drive. In the traditional aperitivo style, this cocktail combines two of Italy's favorite early evening drinks, Campari, and dry Italian white wine. And then little splash of club soda turns it into a spritz, which I love.
Yes, it does. I did find out how you pronounce it, but I don't
Oh,
want to hit
good.
it because it's. Oh, you know what? I think it is bicicletta because
Bicicletta.
Gucci, the ch is Gucci and
Is two
Gucci
C,
is that. Yeah, two
two
C's is the ch.
C's. That tracks.
So anyway,
Turns out we do speak Italian.
sure, of course we do. So yeah, so I did a little bit of extra digging on this one because
Oh, okay.
Italian wine varietals just don't get enough play. So we all know about Pinot Grigio, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, which Chardonnay is a French grape, but and Pinot
Sure.
Grigio is perfect for this. It's a nice dry white wine and it's very easy to
Mm-hmm.
find. But there are so many amazing white varietals in Italy. So we'll post some of
Oh,
these in the little recap that we do online. But
okay.
like some fun ones, the Trebbiano, not to be confused with Joey Tribbiani from
Tribbiani. Yep.
yeah,
That's exactly
but
what I said. I'm also seeing
Italian.
Pecorino, which is a cheese.
It
Do you drink
is.
Pecorino wine with Pecorino cheese? Is that the point? Or is
I
it
mean, I
just a
think you
happy
could.
coincidence?
It's just Pecorino means shepherd.
Oh,
Um, And so, yeah, there is versus the sheep that the cheese comes from. So Pecorino I believe it's just a sheep cheese is why it's that, but it's because of the shepherds. Vermentino is a really fun one. I love the Etna Bianco, which is from Sicily, from Mount Etna, their volcano that they've got down there hanging out.
Oh, so I bet the dirt's kind of interesting then too. Gives you a little
you can get that in Mexico
regional
too.
Flavor. Yeah,
You can get a little bit of that. That pumicey, smoky taste potentially. So anyway, there's a whole bunch more. I believe it's called Garganega. So they're just really fun to pronounce. But honestly, I've had Verdicchios, I've had Trebbianos. I have not had a Pecorino, but I have had Vermentinos. And they're all really great. And all of those are perfectly with this. There's so many dry Italian whites, which is probably why this is such a common beverage.
Yeah. Well, what you need for this is 2 ounces of Campari, 2 ounces of dry Italian white wine, any of those varietals previously mentioned. I learned over the break that I don't like Chardonnay, but I do like Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah.
Very different wines. And Chardonnay, so Chardonnay, you can like it sometimes if it's in a stainless steel barrel instead of an oak barrel. Because it's the difference between like a crisp floral Chardonnay or a crisp fruity Chardonnay versus a buttery Chardonnay, which is like
that's like the anyway, after your dry Italian white wine, 1.5 to 2 ounces of soda water to top, and then a little orange wheel for garnish, and you just add your Campari and white wine to a wine glass, add your ice, top with soda, stir gently, and garnish with your orange wheel. I like this one too because it's easy.
It's super easy.
Cocktail.
And this is a great, I know it's not summer right now, but we really haven't had much of a winter so far. So we'll see what happens.
What is weather?
Who knows? But this one you can also, I will highly recommend that you double it and put it in a tall glass or a pint glass. Because this is a porch sipper. You can just, there is a drink called a porch sipper too, but you can just sit out on the porch and enjoy this, much like the Italian men sitting at the café who then ride their biciclettas back and weave all over the road and create issues.
I'm wondering if there is an Italian woman equivalent. What do the Italian women drink that cause them to wander aimlessly through the streets? Or are we just home, you know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe.
Or are we is it a sidecar scenario?
No, I don't. No, because I think the men go out on their own. I'm Googling drunk Italian women. This could be really crazy. Oh,
that seems dangerous.
No, it's just about this one woman who flew on a plane and had midair drama. So I'm not getting anything good.
I don't think that we're gonna find the answer on Google.
No, but I mean, it may be that the women don't have a comparable drink because they are not so sloppy and messy to be riding and weaving on their bicycles home after getting drunk downtown. And quick credit for this one. It comes from Punch, which is a website, punchdrink.com. And we'll include that as well so that you've got the recipe right there. And I love the notes on this because Campari, you instantly go to bitter, because that's what it is. But delightfully bitter and refreshing. Yeah. So is Jessie delightfully bitter and refreshing?
Delightfully bitter. I feel like you could also, if you wanted to do less bitter, you could do Aperol in this.
Yeah, you could do Aperol in this. I'm wondering about Italicus in this, and then maybe an herbal garnish. We don't have time to get into Italicus.
We're over time.
I know. Zach wanted us to be
about
in
our
5 minutes,
bike
but
riders.
We're at 9. So I think with that, we should probably wrap this piece up.
Turn it over to our bitter and refreshing Chief Creative Officer.
Yep. We'll be back with Jessie in a minute.
Cheers.
And we're back. And Jessie is with us. Hello, Jessie.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back.
Would you be offended if we said bitter and refreshing about your character?
No, I feel like that's
he's
close.
That's perfect. That's perfectly.
I mean, he's got the 90-year-old man inside asking you to get off his lawn, please. But he also is very honest, and I find honesty refreshing. I find people who are candid and kind of forthright refreshing. So I think bitter and refreshing is really Jessie. I think that works.
Yeah.
But we're not here to discuss that. Well, we could. What were you saying, Jesse?
We use the Sour Patch Kids reference with our kids all the time. Like first they're sour, then they're sweet. So that's like the adult version of that, I think.
Yep.
We have like a gusher kit, like a sour gusher, where it's like sour and then sweet and then sour again, and she just turns on a dime.
Yep.
Oof.
Accurate.
Yikes. But we are. Oh, go ahead.
That's not what we're
Zach,
here for.
I'm
No, that's not what we're here
trying.
for.
I'm trying,
Right,
Zach.
right.
We'll have more tangents later. But we're really trying to answer the question today, just to recap. What are the essential elements and features that contribute to making a stellar website? So it's got to be outstanding, effective, and user-friendly. And I know this has been a huge focus for us, and you in particular, Jesse, for the last probably 2 years. And we've really honed it last year. Like, I've been so impressed with some of what we're doing, just to toot our own horn for a minute. Because it's our podcast. We can do that, I suppose.
I think we don't say enough nice things to each other. So, yeah, I agree.
Fair enough.
Some really fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jesse, I want to know this user experience honeycomb. Is that something that you have used? Is that something Zach just pulled out of thin air?
No, this is actually, it came up last year or a year and a half ago when I started teaching the web design class.
Oh, that's right.
And I have really liked it. So, if anybody has seen our kind of website pitch that we do, we open with a slide that's kind of got a Venn diagram with great design, user experience, and then optimal functionality. I think this just kind of encompasses really all of that. He breaks it up into 6 parts instead of just 3, but it's a little bit more all-encompassing. So
I see 7, though.
The 7 middle is like the core piece, so that's the website as a whole.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So all the honeycomb pieces around.
Got it.
Because that's how geometry works.
Well, yeah, math is hard. I love this, and I think that we should probably, you should maybe get your design team working on a honeycomb to replace our Venn diagram. Because, like, if you're going to use it, like, let's use it. Okay, so in the notes here it says useful is the first thing, and that makes sense to me because, like, the web is really about function, right? So that's number one. So talk to me a little bit about that one.
So useful, I like this one because you could have something that's really great looking. The functionality of it could even be great, but if it doesn't solve what the user is trying to do, then it's kind of trash. So being useful, it has to solve what somebody is trying to do, whether they're looking for, a product to buy or information or something to download. They have to be able to do that. So getting to that kind of end result of what that user is actually looking for makes it useful.
Right. And I think that these all have to go together, right? Because just putting up a list of things I might want to find, that might be useful, but it's probably not going to be a great website. It's definitely not a stellar website. And so I think that one of the things that I've noticed is, like, especially when we were doing SEO, which I know we get to Findable as one of these as well, we get into, like, talking about creative and innovative ways to help put the technical pieces in there, but make sure that they look really good and they function really well. So that's always been impressive for me.
Yeah, I really like the honeycomb kind of piece because, like you said, they all kind of touch and rub on each other. You can't have, if you're missing a part of the honeycomb, it all kind of falls apart. So that's why it's a really good analogy.
Yep, I agree. And so usable is the next. Like, useful is one thing, but then we get into can I use it, which you were kind of hinting at.
Very close related, but still kind of its own thing the more you think about it. Like, usable, is it easy to use and understand? Can somebody find their way around things? Does somebody get lost? Do they get frustrated when they use it? Because if they do, they're probably not coming back, or they're going to dread coming back and not come back as often. So usable. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Caitlin.
No, I was going to say that the two of them kind of function together, where, like, useful is meeting your client's need, right? And showing them how you're going to do that. And usable ensures that when they have determined that your service or product is the thing that fits them, they can find what they're looking for easily by visiting XYZ site.
Yep. Yeah, and I think of usable, like so many people like to get really clever with menus, right? And
it just drives me nuts.
and you can have a clever menu that's very usable and very easy to use, and it should be, right? Like the mega menu shouldn't just be a giant list of everything. And I know a lot of what we've done recently, and I know I've seen you working on some things for us in the background as well, is injecting imagery or iconography or subheads into the menu so that it's really easy for you to look around and see what you need. That for me is like one of the biggest usability pieces. But I think this one probably also encompasses like speed, right? Some of those pieces are embedded and usable as well.
Mm-hmm. And like things that function like they're supposed to. You know, when you hit a button, does it actually click? Does it take you where you think it's going to go? Or
the bar is not high in some instances.
Right?
Like, does the button?
But the number of places you go, like, and you click a button and it does nothing. Like, we actually helped fix a very small website recently where that was the case. Like, they had these buttons on there and they just didn't do anything. And it's like, well, just take them off then. Like, either point them somewhere or take them off. Like, one of those things has to happen.
Talking about like usability, I have a joke in my syllabus that's always on the last page. And it says the one for web design is user experience is like a joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good. And so I always kind of keep that in the back of my head. Like if you have to explain something to somebody about how it works, especially in web, probably not a good time.
It's designed to be used on your own, right? Like you don't have somebody guiding you through it. It's I should be able to see it. And that's where those like self-guided tours when somebody updates their website drive me a little crazy. It's like, I shouldn't need this. I should be able to find stuff and know where it is.
I don't need a video to know how to run your website. That's so self-defeating.
Yeah. And that's kind of hard to, especially as stuff changes like so fast, especially in web, just the technology and advancements and things. Like sometimes people do need to be educated on what to do or how this works. Like when mega menus weren't a thing and then all of a sudden they were, you know, a few people had to be the early adopters of that and kind of make it prominent and show people how good it was. So I think there's a give and take for all of these, but for the most part, I think that's a pretty good rule to kind of keep in mind.
Yeah, I think so. So that moves us on to the next two are desirable and findable. So desirable is a rough one for me. Like it's a kind of a loaded phrase, right?
Yeah, it is. The designer in me really likes this one because is it pretty or not? Right? Is it well designed?
Do I want to look at it?
Right. Yeah. Do I want to look around at these pages and see what's going on? I think, at the heart, that's what we do really well. Is make things look really good, so people want to click on buttons. They want to read that info. It's a big part of it. But in this kind of, when you're looking at a website as a whole, it's just one of those pieces. So all of it has to be good. It can't just be pretty. It has to, be all the other things too. But I think another good point about this one is, does it reinforce the brand's mission? Like, it can't be good looking just to be good looking. It has to go with the brand, has to be what they're about, because if it's not that, there's going to be a huge disconnect. And especially when you're on web, if there's a disconnect between what you're kind of looking at and what the product is or what they're trying to serve you, it creates mistrust. And that's definitely not what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if you don't have a point of view for your brand or any kind of identity for your brand or a vision for your brand, it's going to be really hard to develop a website for you. That's one of the first things we start talking to them about is personality and who they are and who their brand is. And we'll hit a point probably where if somebody can't answer that question, we just end the meeting and walk away and we're not doing your project because you're setting yourself up for failure and setting us up for failure by not knowing that.
It's kind of, let's cool. take 5 steps back and look at your brand before we go onto that website.
Well, and it's so funny too, because it's like people want to talk about, I need a new website, but then when you get into it, they're like, oh, well, I guess I don't know what goes there. And so much of our web process now has become centered around like, how do you talk about yourself? What is it that you want people to see when they visit your site? what types of imagery do you like? And it's like, instead of designing a brochure, like we've had the conversation where it's like your website is now your like leave behind for people, because we're not we don't do a ton of print anymore, but it's like that leave behind where what is the thing that you want people to know or remember about your business, and how do we showcase that in a meaningful way?
Yeah, and I think that gets into the next one, findable, really well. We've been slapped with this one recently. When we built our new website, we didn't put a portfolio on it, and we hadn't really needed one for like over a year, but we've had a couple of people who were like, oh, I was looking for examples on your website and I couldn't find them. Well, they're on our Behance profile, and you can go there and take a look at them, or we can send you some stuff. But that's something that we're correcting, because our website is very findable, but people couldn't actually find the information they needed once they got there in that specific instance.
Yeah.
So it's really where that piece is. Go ahead, Jesse.
It's kind of twofold. I'll take this one a little further too into kind of the SEO, because that's really big into what we do. But focusing just on the findable stuff on the website, like you said, it's super important. Kind of goes with that usable and usefulness piece. Like if they can't find something easily, they're not going to stay there very long, especially with short attention spans. So one thing outside of the website that we can do is a lot of SEO, and that ties in very closely with all the architecture of the site, how it's built, the content that's on all those pages, making it helpful and easier to show up in search, I think is another kind of, if you want to really kind of pinpoint that findable piece and think outside of just the website, it's a big place to look into as well.
Well, and it's also your opportunity to set the expectation, right? Like if I get a Google search result, I see that headline and meta description, and when I click on that and go there, I should get content that makes sense to me based on what I saw there. And so many people just put up really general title tags and meta descriptions. And then you get to the site and you're like, this is not what I thought it was. This is
the question I was asking. The number of times that I have been frustrated or misled by a meta description and an inaccurate title tag, it's so frustrating.
It's catfishing.
And I think, 100%. It is. And I think, that was, a couple of years ago, maybe, when it was really more common. I think people are wising up to that like, ranking in search results and being accurate in what you're describing on that initial search page has changed. But when it was like the best latte in Sioux City, and then you'd get there and it was like they were selling whole ground coffee or like whole beans, and it's like, I'm not making a latte at my house.
I want to come get your latte.
You lied to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think people have realized that Google's going to smack you down for those. We're kind of getting into a few areas where, like, the next one is also a Google will smack you down if you don't do this right. And a lot of people ignore it. So accessible. So, and specifically, we're talking about ADA requirements, right?
Yes.
And you can get fined. Like, people don't realize, like, you can get fined. And it's a couple $1,000s, I think, per instant.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
So how do you make sure that, how do you balance like the desirable and the pretty in the design with the accessible? Because like contrast, like white text on black background or black text on white background is your best, but it's not the only thing that's ADA accessible. But how do you make that work, Jesse? Like how do you work around that with somebody's brand guidelines?
The brand guidelines, if they're pretty prescribed, that's kind of tough. You can tweak a few things here and there, but I think it starts really early. There's so many good tools for that. We're pretty tied to Adobe at this point. Adobe Color is really good. And even just adjusting them slightly, if it's really close and we can change a few digits or something on a hex code to make it applicable, I think that's totally fine and probably a good thing to do. But it's a big part. Sometimes it gets tough or it gets frustrating, especially if there's colors that look really good, but maybe they don't read very well. So there's some give and take on that one, especially. And you kind of have to walk the line and figure out where it's best.
Yeah, and in the we don't say enough nice things to each other, I think you and Megan do a great job of balancing what looks good with what is functional, and you design with that accessibility piece in mind at the forefront. It's not an afterthought when you're designing, which I think is not always the case, especially, like I'll visit smaller sites or people with smaller budgets, and I'm like, oh, they just and you don't know, like a lot of times it's just a lack of awareness or education around that piece, but it can be really costly.
Yeah, and I know there's there's little things that you mentioned, like we're going to push your navy just a little bit darker, or we're going to push your yellow just a little bit brighter or lighter. But I know there's other things, because you can mess with size of text and bold text. So a color that isn't bold might not work on a certain background, but when you bold it, it's readable now, or you increase it by 2 points, which is the other thing that I see all the time. Websites have such tiny type, and I'm like, you don't make it giant. Like, I don't need it to be giant, but like type can be such a great design element, and you can use it that way. And also, guess what? It makes it more accessible because it's easier to read.
It's that, and it's also like you're not going to run out of room. It's not like you're limited to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in the, in the old days. Like, right, exactly. It's like, no, the limit does not exist. You can just make it as big or as long or as wide as makes sense. Yeah. The other thing too that we talked a little bit about accessibility and findability or findable is like when you are appropriately populating like alt tags on your images and meta descriptions and tagging your H1s, H2s, H3s, that also plays into the accessibility piece. So like Jesse said earlier, some of these pieces kind of, tag off of each other. And if you don't have one, the whole honeycomb falls apart.
Even like buttons for like tapping and things like that. That you can do now with some of the back end stuff is really, really handy.
All right, cool. So a few more. You've got credible. So how do I make sure that I am credible?
So this is where content gets really important. Obviously, there's some content pieces on the other ones like desirable and findable. But having good, relevant content that speaks to the brand, it's true to what they're trying to do, or what we're trying to do, and just reinforces kind of what the brand is about and builds that trust with a user, is a huge part of, I think, when people are, whether they realize it or not, they know that if they kind of pick up, especially if you're just trying to sell something and it's in your face and things like that. So being credible, being authentic, I think is huge, especially I think it's only getting more important. So
yeah, and I think you've got there's a thing in the notes here about and I'm guessing you use this when you teach the Web Credibility Project, which is from Stanford University, where they actually have guidelines on what makes a site credible and what elements you can add to make a site credible depending on what kind of site you have. So you don't have to guess, right? You don't have to be like, I think this makes me more credible. They've actually done a huge study, and obviously, not just some run-of-the-mill university. It's Stanford, they got a good research team there. To help understand what makes a site credible. And Google loves this one. It is becoming the most valuable thing ahead of almost everything else, is what content you have and how credible you are with it. I think it also helps you stand out from like people who just use AI to slap things together. Like AI is great for a start, but it lies and it doesn't always get things right. And so, making sure that you've done that is important and huge. Very cool. So last two, it looks like valuable and then site performance. So talk to me about valuable.
Site performance is kind of an add-on.
Okay.
So the last part of the honeycomb is valuable, right in the center. And I think it's a good one because everything kind of feeds into that and makes the site either super valuable to somebody or something that they just look at once and move on and maybe never go back to, never purchase anything from, anything like that. So you want to deliver value to your users. It's a brand thing. It's a customer satisfaction thing to build up that value for them to keep them coming back. Kind of playing into the HubSpot, that delight piece. and completing
Flywheel.
that kind of customer service.
Yeah, and I think the valuable is what's interesting is if you create value for your audience and get them to come back, the flip side of it is it's going to then create value for you. And it may be in the form of monetary value, like you may make more money. It may be in the form of reputation or advancing your mission or your cause. But that value is a two-way street. And if you don't create value for them, there's no way you're going to get value back out of it. And for a lot of people, you know, their website is their number one sales tool. It's their number one location that people go to. And so making sure that that's delivering value is, you know, absolutely huge. And I love that that one's in the center. Of course, in our notes, they're just in a list. We didn't have a graphic, so it was nice of you to describe that. And obviously this is a audio program, so people have to like understand how that works. But I like it. I like the user experience honeycomb. I learned something new today.
Yeah.
So site performance. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to give credit to, who is it from? Peter Morville from Semantic Studios is the one who came up with that. So super handy. I really like it from a teaching perspective because it focuses everybody on, you know, outside of just, you know, looking nice and some usability stuff, but definitely it kind of all encompassing. So it's a really good thing to kind of keep in mind.
Well, and from
redoing a website.
Yeah, from a teaching standpoint, it also makes things a little bit more objective instead of subjective, right? Like these are the 7 things you need to do. This is how those things are defined, and we can agree that you did or did not do all of these things on your project.
Directly translatable to a rubric.
Oh, God.
Taking me back to my one semester of photography 101 at the community college.
Yes, Caitlin taught
professor.
For one semester
One
and then said, nope, the next time they came back.
That is not for me. I commend and admire those of you that can do it. I cannot.
It's a challenging love-hate relationship, I think. There's a lot that I love about it, and there's some things that make me just want to stab myself in the head. Okay, and then site performance is just sort of an add-on because obviously your site has to be optimized and perform well. And that does support the rest of these, especially when you get into findable and usable and those types of things.
As I say, it like site performance is in with accessible and in with findable and in with usable, because if your images are huge, it's going to be impossible to use because your page load times are going to be trash and people will have to wait. And if you are optimizing things like your H1s and H2s, like it's all of that same thing. Like the site performance is like also layered in, but I think it's really important to call out, especially like Jesse said, as our attention spans get shorter and shorter and shorter.
So, what kills me about it though is people talk so much about site performance. Oh, I put it into Google Page Speed, or I use this other tool to check my page speed and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that's important. That's 100% important. But it's not something that we necessarily talk about a lot, because if you do all of the other things right, site performance is going to come along with it. And yeah, there's some technical stuff you can add on, but if you're really focused on usable and findable and useful and accessible, you shouldn't have an issue with site performance. But everybody just wants to be like, oh, you only got an 80. And it's like, well, an 80 is actually pretty good, you know, or you just got a 60 on the mobile, you know, speed test. And it's like, right. And that's a symptom of a greater problem. Mm-hmm. And these are all the things we need to fix in order for that symptom to go away. That isn't the thing we need to fix. You're treating the symptom, and then you're going to fall over on all the rest of these in the honeycomb.
I think it's a lot like responsiveness from like 5 or 10 years ago. Like everybody was so hung up on making it responsive, and that's all anybody.
We
ever
still
talked
get
about.
That question.
Oh, and it's like, well,
where it's like, well, what happens on a cell phone? It's like yes, that it will reset. Yeah.
The site looks beautiful on a cell phone.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying. Like if you do all of that, all of those other things, the site performance and like SEO is another big one that people get hung up now. It's like, that's all going to be good because we're doing it. We're thinking about those things through that whole process. It's not just this
holistically. Yeah.
So I think that one, it's kind of one of those buzzwords that everybody is really hung up on now. And it's it's hard to, you can't really just discredit it, right? You have to address it, but it's one of those that gets me. It's like, well, yeah, we're going to do that. We do that through the whole time.
Yeah, we take it for granted. Like, of course we're going to do that. Why wouldn't we? And it even gets down to like, you know, the sitemap. And some people are like, oh, why do we have to go through this sitemap phase? And it's like, well, no, it's like, an organizational thing.
Yeah.
But it's the first place we start talking about SEO as well. Those page titles and how they're structured and their hierarchy. Like, SEO starts at the beginning and goes all the way through it. It's just, I don't know how you would do it otherwise. I know people have, and even we have, like a while ago, without going through that. But life got so much easier when we made that the first step and had to lock it down before we moved on.
Well, and I mean, in terms of like agency client expectation too, it's like you hand over a document that says this is what you can expect at the end of this project in terms of number of pages, the content that we should see. Like, it keeps everyone accountable to the whole process. But I have spent a lot of time over the last 2 weeks playing with Magnetiles and I just have, like, it's foundational, right? Like, this site performance piece is like the pinnacle of your little triangle pyramid, right? But if you can get all of your blocks lined up on the base with your like accessibility and usability, then all of it just like fits together.
So you've gone from the honeycomb to the pyramid.
Did you know that the triangle is the strongest shape?
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
That's why they made it. That's why they like the pyramids. It's like geometry.
Wow, we're getting all kinds of math lessons today. All right.
That's the extent. My daughter is 3. That's as far as we go.
All right. Well,
a good, just kind of like to wrap it up, a good example of that, like not being an afterthought, but being something that we just put time into throughout the whole process. Like, we finished up a website. I think it was this year, it was this year. Last year, well, true.
We haven't finished. We've had 3 days of this.
It's been a week.
We haven't
Whatever
finished
year
anything.
it is.
A rolling 12-month period.
Yeah, sometime in the last 2 months. We got done with it. It was great. And then Riley did a site test on it like a week after it launched, and it got 100. And it's like, oh, that's nice. That it did exactly what we wanted
it did.
to.
It was like, oh, good job, guys.
And that's I know which one you're talking about. That's a big site with a video on the homepage getting a 100. Because, like, you know, when somebody wants a video on the homepage, it's like, or you guys creatively come up with that, you're like, yeah, we can do that. But then you've got to figure out how to do that and make it work.
Responsibly.
And responsibly. It's a great way to put it.
Please video responsibly.
So I think that's great. So biggest piece of this is the honeycomb, user experience honeycomb with useful, usable, desirable, findable, accessible, credible. That's a lot of bulls. Those are all around the outside of the honeycomb, and then valuable is in the middle. So valuable is this 6-sided thing in the middle. And as Jesse noted, like, they all touch each other. They all have to work together. And if you do all that right, voila, your site will perform extremely well on mobile and everywhere else.
If this was meaningful to you, we would love to hear about it. You can either leave us a comment on one of our social channels, wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love that. You will also be hearing from us again soon with our Chief Operations Officer, Jessica. I'm told the episode is entitled Hot Pants.
Which is a drink, apparently?
I would like to just note that I did not sign off on that wardrobe choice.
I think it's a beverage choice versus a wardrobe choice, but we'll get into that later. So, and Hot Pants will be
Jesse.
It's all about HubSpot features you might be missing out on. So Jessica's going to like peel back the mystery in HubSpot and talk about a few things. This will be a good one because I think all three of us use HubSpot, so we'll be able to jump in.
I'm just having the hardest time not making an underwear joke. So we're going to when you were like, we're going to peel back. And I was like, we're not peeling anything, to be clear.
See, for me, hot pants are more the,
it's like the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders shorts.
No, I was thinking more
that's
of
a hot
like
pant.
the leather
am I drinking what am I
skin-tight
doing?
leggings from Greece that the
No, those are cigarette pants.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe Zach, I'd like an episode called Cigarette Pants in the future if we could do that.
That doesn't sound like
All
a
right.
very good drink.
No,
ew.
it doesn't. You're right, it doesn't. Scratch that.
It's like bong
But
water.
I do want to thank
Gross.
Zach for making my episode a drunk guy on a bicycle and not hot pants.
That's how you avoid that DUI. Unless you're in Arizona, because then it's not a motor vehicle, it's just operating a vehicle, and a bicycle is a vehicle. So you can get a DUI in Arizona on a bicycle. All right, well, thank you guys for listening.
You know.
And as Caitlin said, we would love your feedback. And we've got a phone line you can call. You can go to ctapodcast.live and leave us a comment on this episode, or wherever you get your podcasts. So thank you. You guys are all beautiful. We're glad to be back for a brand new year of Cocktails, Tangents, and Answers.
Happy New Year!
Yay.